This is Note, an app by Ableton. Is Note a full version of Ableton Live that fits in your pocket? What features does it have and not have? Is it worth it? Well, let's find out. Note is a musical creation app that serves as a sketchbook or a place to start musical ideas while you're on the go or not in front of your computer. It's got an intuitive interface with plenty of useful features, and its ability to export files for use in Ableton Live for Mac or Windows is a key feature of Note. Let's take a close look at Note and see some of its key features. At the time of its launch, Note cost $6 and is available for iPhone and iPad. The user experience between these two versions of the app is similar, though the iPhone version is fixed in portrait orientation, while the iPad version can either be portrait or landscape. And if we have multiple devices, we can sync files between them or with a computer with Ableton Live. More on that later. Let's use the iPad version since it has a larger screen. On the home page, we see a list of songs that Ableton calls sets. The app comes with some demo sets to mine for ideas and reference, and sets can be previewed right from this list. Tap the New button on the top right to start a new set. Within a new set, we can see vertical columns, which are the tracks of the set. Each row is called a scene. And each square in that column is a clip, which can be played independently of other tracks or scenes. More on this later. Let's sidestep briefly to explain a key concept. For those unfamiliar with Ableton Live, the software has two different modes for writing music that you can switch between: Session View and Arrangement View. Most DAWs use a linear horizontal layout for creating music where each track is a different row. In Live, this is called Arrangement View. But one of the things that makes Live unique is Session View, where tracks are arranged vertically and use clips to form pieces of a song. In this mode, there isn't one timeline, but each clip can have its own while still staying in sync with the tempo of the set. Here's a quick example. Session View makes it easy to mix and match different clips. It's a useful way to experiment and develop ideas whether you're just starting out in music production or trying to find the right direction for your next hit song. Currently, Ableton Note only has Session View, which is a great way to start a musical idea or a song. And that works well with the concept of the app, which is a place to start or sketch musical ideas. Getting back to explaining sets, by default there are 3 tracks in a set and the icons at the top tell us what they are. Note initially loads these tracks with random presets to help get ideas flowing, usually with drums, a melodic instrument, or a sampler. Let's look at the drum track. Press the track's icon to get into that track. At the top, we see the name of the preset that's currently loaded into the track. Below that, we have 4 tabs: Track Parameters, Sample View, Pad Effects, and Kit Effects. Below that, we have an area that changes views depending on the currently selected function. The bottom half of the screen shows us a bank of pads. The very bottom of the screen has an Undo button, Redo, Options buttons, and Play Stop button. Let's start things off by making a beat. On the top right of the screen, press the Set Settings button. Let's turn the metronome on. Then let's change the tempo. There are 3 ways to do this. We can tap and hold the arrows to the left and right of the BPM. We can slide the BPM left or right, or we can tap the tempo in. From this menu, we can also adjust the key and scale of the set. More on that later. Press Done to return to the track page. Press play on the bottom right of the screen and we should hear the metronome. We can now play the pads in time with the metronome. As we play the pads, we can see notes appear in the clip area and they get compressed as the clip length increases. This is because new clips default to a free length, continuing to run until you capture the notes by pressing the Note Capture button below the pads. The clip will now repeat and loop. The Stop button at the bottom right of the screen will show you the relative playback position of clips, which is useful. Press the Stop button. Okay, let's hit the Undo button and create a fixed length clip instead. Press the plus button above the pads. Select a length from the pop-up menu. The clip will automatically start playing and loop. The pads we play will show up in the clip as outlines. Pressing the Add button will add those notes to the clip. As we play more pads, those notes will be outlines until they are added. Or press the X button to clear the outline notes. When we're happy with the notes, press the Add button. You can keep adding elements as you want. This is a convenient workflow, especially if you're not an expert at finger drumming. Also, you can loop one or more bars by selecting the bar markers below the notes. Press them again to deselect and loop the whole clip. Additionally, we can drag the bar markers right to duplicate them, or drag them left to delete them. But know that clips are limited to 8 bars max. Press the Set Settings button and disengage the metronome. Then press Done. Let's explain the options at the very bottom of the screen. On the left, we have Undo and Redo. To the right, we have Pad options. If we press that, a menu appears to the left of the pads. Here we can switch between a bank of pads or one large pad. This is especially helpful if you have an iPhone with a smaller screen. Let's say that we want to add hi-hats to this clip. Using more than one finger makes this feel a bit more natural. First, select the pad you want to enlarge. Then press the single pad button. Now the pad area will trigger just that one pad, and we can tap it out and capture those notes. Let's show how the repeat function works. This is useful for sounds like hi-hats. Press the Undo button to remove the hi-hat notes we previously captured. Now press the Repeat button, and a menu will come up with different time intervals for the note repeat function, including triplets. Press and hold the pad to repeat notes. Select different time intervals to alter the notes being repeated. Let's turn off Repeat in the menu. Hit the back arrow to return to the Pad Options menu and select Multiple Pad Layout. Press the Pad Options button to close the side menu. The middle option at the bottom of the screen will duplicate the current clip, and we can create a variation of it. Let's say that we like the clip we made, but we need a different version of it for a different part of the song. We could capture a different hi-hat sequence, for example. We could also take out some of the notes of the clip. In the clip area, selecting one or more notes brings up a menu for editing notes. We can delete them by using the trash can icon. We can also adjust their timing. We can change which note was played by using the transpose buttons. In an instrument track, we can transpose notes up or down by whole octaves. There's also a quantization menu as well as velocity adjustment per note. Let's X out of this menu when we're done making adjustments. The button to the left of the play button is the quantization button. Pressing this will quantize the selected notes based on the settings in the quantization menu we just saw. Press the back button at the top left of the screen to return to session view. Now we can see two different clips we created in the drum track. If we press and hold the clip, a menu pops up. We can edit the clip, duplicate it, or delete it. We can also move the clip to any cell. Let's duplicate the clip we just made. We can make this clip unique by editing and adding notes. Let's return back to session view when we're done. Tapping a clip will start playing it. Now press the second track's icon. Within this instrument track, the layout is slightly different than a drum track. There's only 3 tabs at the top, parameters, and 2 different effects. The pads are shaded to represent a chromatic keyboard. The very bottom has the same buttons that we saw in the drum track. Press the Set Settings button and press the key and scale settings. Select a key to engage a scale. Press Done to return to the track page. Now the highlighted pads are the root keys and the pads are all in scale. And all of the tracks within this set will follow this key and scale setting. In an instrument track, we can adjust the octave of the pads. Press the Pad Options button and we will see an octave setting. Pressing it will bring up a menu allowing us to change the octave of the pads up or down. Press the plus button to create a fixed length clip and play notes until we find something we like. Then press the capture button. Let's say we like these notes, but the sound isn't quite right. Press the preset name at the top of the screen. Let's try some sounds until we find one we like. Press the back button to return to session view. Select the third track icon. Select the preset name and navigate the preset list and select Sampler. The layout looks like an instrument track, but it has a sample tab at the top, just like a drum track. Here we can load a sample or record one. Let's record a sample using the microphone. The beginning of the waveform will automatically be trimmed to the first transient. Now we can play that sample melodically and sequence it just as we did with an instrument track. Here's another trick. You're not limited to the microphone to record samples. You can connect an interface and record just about anything. Similarly, we can connect a device like the Fender Micro Amp and sample a guitar or a bass, and we can sequence this sample melodically. We can also record samples directly into a drum rack. Press the back button to return to session view. Pressing the plus button to the right of the tracks will create a new one. A menu will prompt us to select a preset. Navigate the main preset list and select drum rack, and then press done at the top right to confirm the selection. We now have a blank drum track to work with, so let's record some sounds. Select the pad you want to record into and then press record sample. Repeat until you've got all the sounds you want. Now we can dial in the sound design of our kit. We can adjust the gain of each pad by selecting the waveform tab, placing our finger on the waveform and dragging it up or down. Each pad can also have its own effect. Select the Pad Effects tab and then select the preset name at the top. We can navigate the audio effects to select from a range of presets. With the set playing, selecting presets allows you to preview effects. When you find one you like, press Done to confirm. Within each preset, there's various parameters we can adjust. While the clip is playing, parameter adjustments are shown in the clip area with a dashed line, and we can add this automation to the clip by pressing the Add button. Automated parameters will have a dot next to the parameter. We can also apply an effect to the kit itself. Using this same process, we can apply an effect to all the pads in the kit. Okay, back in session view, there's a few more things to know. At the bottom of session view, there are a few buttons. We have the undo and redo buttons. To the right of those, we have a scene button. Pressing it will bring up the scene selection menu to the left of each row of clips. Think of scenes like different parts of your song. You can have a scene for your chorus, another for a verse, and another for a bridge, for example. You can press the scene button to the left of a row to play that row. Press and hold the scene button to duplicate it or delete it. You can also hold and drag the scene button to rearrange its order. To the left of the play button at the bottom of the screen, there is a mixer button. In the mixer screen, while the set is playing, we can see the levels of each track, and we can adjust them by holding down on the meter area of each track and dragging up or down. We can also mute or solo tracks in the mixer page. Press the mixer button again to return to session view. Let's say you like your musical idea and you're ready to take it to the next level. There's a few more things we can do. Press the back arrow in session view to return to the set list. Press the Set Options button to the right of the set name. A menu will come up. We can duplicate this set in case we want to change things and retain a copy of the original. We can rename the set. We can add artwork via our photo library or the device's camera. Then we have a few options to share the set. We can export the set to an audio file. In session view, press the Set Settings button. Select Export Audio. A menu comes up allowing us to see the art of the set and select either WAV or M4A format. Then a preview will be created. Keep in mind that the export will be the sequence of scenes in the set from top to bottom. Then press the Share button to text the file, AirDrop, or email it. You can also copy it to the clipboard or save it to the device. We can also upload the set, including all of the samples recorded, to Ableton Cloud. The first time you do this, you'll be taken to Ableton's site to sign into your Ableton account and enable this feature. And you'll need to do this for each device you enable Ableton Cloud on. There's no additional charge for Ableton Cloud, but once that's done, sets can easily be shared between devices. There's a few things to know about Ableton Cloud. Syncing a set is one-directional. Let's say you start your idea on your iPad, upload it to the cloud, and alter it on your iPhone. Those changes aren't synced back to the original device. You'll need to upload another version to the cloud each time you want to switch devices and continue working on a set. It's something to keep in mind. Another thing to note is that the sync isn't designed to go from Ableton Live to Ableton Note, only from Note to Live. This makes sense with the design intent of Note, that you can start an idea in Note and then finish it in Live. Speaking of other things to keep in mind, Note has Ableton Link. You can enable this in the app settings at the bottom of the setlist page. This allows you to sync this app with other Ableton Link enabled apps and devices. It's very convenient for jamming with friends or building a performance setup. Another thing to keep in mind is working with Bluetooth. For example, you will get a notification when you use Note with Bluetooth headphones because there's an inherent delay in this technology. To avoid this issue, you'll want to use wired headphones either via Lightning adapter or similar dongle. Now for Ableton's initial offering of an app, Note isn't bad, but there's always room for improvement. Here's a quick list of things that would be great if they got incorporated into future upgrades. It would be great if you could trim a sample's start and end points, maybe even add fades. Chopping a sample and spreading it across pads in a kit would be highly useful. Sample organization and management could be improved. Copying and pasting notes in clips and samples between pads, instruments, or kits would be great. Note is basically set up for 4/4 musical ideas, which is fine, but it would be nice to alter a clip's time signature to create other time intervals. There's just a few options for a clip's length, and it would be great to allow users to adjust the length as desired. Ableton Live files are more complex and would need to be drastically simplified to sync back to Note. That seems unlikely to be implemented. But if note sets could be synced automatically between iOS devices, that would be convenient. There's a few effects which would be useful to have, such as a compressor, limiter, gate, and drum bus. It would be convenient and time-saving to be able to start a set from a template, or better yet, a list of templates. The workaround for this is to create a set that serves as a template and then duplicate it each time you start a new set. It seems like a missed opportunity not to include support for a MIDI keyboard. Whether Ableton Note is a good iOS app for music creation will depend on each user. For users of Ableton Live, it is a convenient way to start ideas on the go and then quickly bring them up in Live when you do get to the studio. For a cost of a fancy cup of coffee, it's worth it to have a simplified version of Ableton Live in your pocket. That said, if you're an Ableton Live user who only uses Arrangement View, Note may not be for you. For users of Logic, Pro Tools, and other DAWs, the value may be less beneficial than if you are a Live user. However, you can still find a way to incorporate Note into your workflow. As a standalone iOS music production app, it's not the most powerful app available. For a traditional DAW experience, GarageBand, Beatmaker 3, or Cubase LE, for example, are all more feature-rich. Though if you're not looking for a full DAW for your phone or iPad and just want a simple user interface, Note is definitely worth looking into. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video if you learned something. Thanks for your support.